Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining me for another review, everybody. And if this is your first time here, hey, why not check out the vibe, see if you like the style, see if you want to become friends long term. But what we do sometimes here is have some porch drinking and do our reviews outside when the weather allows. And man, it is nice and comfy out here today. Unbelievably so for February. So for today's review, we have the hard truth. We got some more hard truth to get through. I'm so excited. I did pick up the chocolate malt. This is now the third bottle of this that I have bought this year. First starting with mash bill number 1, just the standard rye. Then I got the caramel malt rye. And now we got the chocolate malt rye. And every time these keep impressing me, I'm going to keep doubling down and buying the next one in the series until I have them all. And guess what? This one impressed me a lot, and I will be going out and getting the malted rye next. So we will get some more hard truth on this channel. So we're going to break this one down. Man, it is really good. And it's somehow only 2 to 3 years old. So if you don't know much about this brand, hey, stick around, see this review, and let's explore this one together. Thank you for joining me, everybody. Let's kick off the show. All right. So this is the Hard Truth Rye. It is age stated at 2 years, which is quite unbelievable. This is their chocolate malt mash bill. So they do have a few different mash bills. This is number 3. So that really helps distinguish it, aside from just saying chocolate malt pretty predominantly here. This one is 109.6 proof, and this ran me $95 in Northern Kentucky. Though as I get into that more, maybe $95 is actually too much. I hear other people saying they're getting it for like 75, 80. So I don't know why I'm getting it a little higher in my area, but you know, that's just how this game is played. This one is originally dumped in September 2022. This is batch 1 of the chocolate malt. And for the record, too, this is an New Indiana distillery. So when you see distilled in Indiana, hey, who knows now? We got another player in here. Another good correction for me when I did the caramel malt, I should have looked up the mash bill. For some reason, I implied that the mash bill would be similar to the mash bill number 1. It is not. The caramel malt and also this chocolate malt are barely legal rye whiskeys, 51% rye, 38% corn, and in this case, 11% is that chocolate malted barley. So, man, let's get into this one here. I'm pretty excited to taste this one again, and I have just been impressed with this brand throughout. So, spoiler alert, I like it, but let's break it down together. Cheers, everybody. Thanks for joining me this far. Man, what continues to stick out on this one for me, now, I know it's got chocolate malt in the name, and my head goes to chocolate, like, immediately, so I do wonder if it's a mental thing. We have to blind these things later. But I go back and forth between, like, if I went to the grocery store and I decided to open a box of Fruity Pebbles, and then I opened a box of Cocoa Pebbles, and then I just decided to go back and forth and smelled the boxes interchangeably. I don't know why I would do such a thing. I would think I would just buy the boxes and bring them home before I did this experiment, but apparently I'm just doing it in the aisle of the grocery store in my head. That's what it smells like, though. I go back and forth. It's got that cereal smell to it, but then it's either chocolate or it's a fruit bomb. Chocolate or it's a fruit bomb. Chocolate or a fruit bomb. And I'm not getting any distinguished like fruits, like individual fruits when I'm saying that. That's when I'm like kind of going back to this Fruity Pebble thing. That's the main thing I get off the nose. If I dig a little deeper, there's a bit of a citrus there. I think that'll come into play later in the tasting, but we shall see. So let's get into the taste here. We'll do front of the palate, mid palate, and then to the finish. Oh, it's so ridiculously good. So ridiculously good. Just the moment that you sip on it, Oh gosh. Up front, very similar to the nose. I'm going back and forth between tasting fruity pebbles or cocoa pebbles. I just don't know which one to point it to. I'm just mixing the two cereals together and making some fruity cocoa pebbles. That actually sounds kind of good in retrospect. I usually buy them individually when I buy them. Okay, that's a thought. Only other thing I would note when it comes to the initial flavors that you're getting, there is a lingering citrus again. I think I said that on the nose. It's a lemon juice essentially at the front of the palate, though it transitions to a different citrus as we get further into the experience. But up front, I am focusing in on essentially a lemon juice. All right, let's go into mid palate. So mid palate is where you get a little bit of a curveball. I don't get a lot of the cocoa notes anymore, so the chocolate part of it kind of subsides a little bit. I do get a slight espresso there, so that could be in kind of the same realm, the same family. The rye really starts punching through mid palate, and the predominant note that I get is one of those sugared orange wedges, like the jellies, those candies. Just that classical candy. That's the taste that I get when I say it. That citrus notes transitioning, it transitions into those candied orange slices. Then into the finish, the cocoa comes back. It's much more of a cocoa powder at that point. And one thing that keeps happening on these hard truths, I've picked up on this note a few times. It makes more sense now knowing that this is 38% corn. It didn't make as much sense to me initially off the caramel malt, but I should have looked up the mash bill and not implied it was similar to mash bill 1. I get essentially a dried popcorn kernel kind of a note, as if I was just sucking on a popcorn kernel before it was popped. So an unpopped popcorn kernel. The espresso's still there. And then the other thing that lingers with me, and it's lingering with me the most, I'm getting it right now, well into the finish. It's essentially like a pumpernickel salted bread. So less of a rye bread, more of just that pumpernickel. And that candied orange slices carries through to the finish as well for a little bit there. But it mostly leaves me with the chocolate powder and the pumpernickel bread. Oh, man. Really good rye. Still can't believe it's 2 years old. That's just insane to me. Well, let's pull up the official scores on this one. So here on the channel, we got a 3-tier scoring system. We got the flavor score, the experience score, and then the value score. Flavor is just all about how enjoyable it was each step of the way. Experience is more the technical score, the mouthfeel, the length of the finish, the complexity of the nose and the taste, the balance of the whiskey in this blend. And then we got the value score, just the experience it provided for the money that was paid. Ultimately, a lot of these scores ended up in the 7 to 8 range, thus where you see the score here. Anything in the 7 or higher is a very good. It's actually hard to get beyond a 7 a lot of the times. We're pretty, we make it tough to get above this point. I will say that. But overall, gave this one a 73, which is a very good pour, just barely behind the caramel malt, which I think I liked a little bit more. The flavor score gave it a 75. It had good points everywhere. I think where it lost me a little bit was maybe mid palate. It wasn't punching as strongly as what it was doing front of the palate and on the finish. But man, it's really, really good too. I'm splitting hairs on that one. And then experience just comes down to more the complexity of it. And the mouthfeel, just a little bit, less than I expect from something barrel proof as well, but really, really nitpicking it, I feel like. So we're going to end it with that 73. Recommend, I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Once again, I can't at that price just go around recommending this one to everybody. I did pay $95. That's what I'm finding it for in Northern Kentucky. But this one has a big home amongst whiskey connoisseurs, and it is going to be a brand that people are going to know because 2 years from now, I'm telling you, this is going to be a crazy brand that people are going to be really talking about. So get on the ground floor of this one. So do I plan to buy another? Yes, I do. And the next one I buy will be the Malted Rye, which will give me the series. And then I'm going to do a blind to them all to see which one I like better. So that completes the review of the Hard Truth Chocolate Malt. Once again, this one is mash bill number 3, so it's got the big 3 there. If you do see this one in the store, I would recommend mash bill number 4, the caramel malt, though. If you are looking to buy only one, that is the one. This one's not far behind, and as you can see, I got to get the full set and play some Yahtzee. Well, thank you for joining me for today's whiskey review, everybody. I'll catch you later, whiskey friends. Bye, everyone.